Good evening. I was perusing this video in Pound Sand's channel. It's a great channel. I suggest you subscribe to it. And I was looking at the comments on this particular video, Merbeast and Lawn Smoke. This particular response by Brian King had a lot of responses, and I was reading through it. Brian King apparently thinks that he has cornered the market. He is the original inventor of the interview. Imagine my shock. And he was having a little disagreement with Verbal Kint. Verbal Kint was accusing him of being a rape apologist, and Brian King is trying to explain away his rape apology. You know, whatever. I don't really care. Even rapists have a First Amendment right. And normally I just get past rape apologetics. But this kind of caught me. This kind of caught me. And this is real rape apologetics right here. For the record, says Brian King, a guy pissing behind a dumpster at 2 a.m. when no one is around to see it, and a cop happens by and sees him, gets that same moderate level. The moderate level he's talking about is the risk level. If it says moderate, that's what he's talking about. Don't believe me? Look at your local list. I have yet to see a low-risk assessment for anyone. Well, if Brian King hasn't seen it, then apparently it doesn't exist. What that risk level means, this is from the Texas Department of Public Safety. A low level indicates the person poses low danger to the community and will not likely engage in criminal sexual conduct. Level 2, moderate, indicates the person poses a moderate danger to the community and may continue to engage in criminal sexual conduct. High indicates that a person poses a serious danger to the community and will continue to engage in criminal sexual conduct. So let's look at what he's saying here. He says, for the record, a guy pissing behind a dumpster at 2 a.m. when no one is around, right? And a cop happens by and sees him, gets that same moderate level. Well, maybe not. See, the problem is that if perchance you're in the city of Houston, public urination is a ticketable offense. About $200, roughly. 209, I think, is the exact amount, but I could be wrong. We'll pay for the ticket. You don't go to jail. It's like a traffic ticket. It shall be unlawful for any person to urinate or defecate in any public place or in immediate proximity thereto, where such place has not been designated as a restroom. You piss on a dumpster at 2 a.m., you're probably going to get a ticket if you're in the city of Houston or in any of the other cities that have a public ordinance against, or a city ordinance against public urination or defecation. Now, theoretically, if you are making a show of peeing, if you're doing it for the grins and giggles, you might get charged with indecent exposure. A person commits an offense if he exposes his anus or any part of his genitals with intent to arouse or gratify the sexual desire of any person, and he is reckless about whether another is present who will be offended or alarmed by his act. So any person means he could be trying to arouse or gratify himself, but he has to have the intent to arouse or gratify the sexual desire of somebody, himself or somebody else. If he's alone and he believes he's alone peeing on that dumpster, the prosecution is going to have to prove that he intended to gratify his own or arouse his own sexual desires by peeing on a dumpster at 2 a.m. when he's alone. And that might be a bit tricky, but what do I know? I'm just a family law attorney. You might also want to notice that this is in section 21 of the Texas Penal Code. In section 22, they deal with sexual assault. Sexual assault is just a tad bit different than pissing on a dumpster at 2 a.m. See if you could spot the difference. A person commits an offense if the person intentionally or recklessly causes the penetration of the anus or sexual organ of another person by any means without that person's consent, causes the penetration of the mouth of another person by the sexual organ of the actor without that person's consent, or causes the sexual organ of another person without that person's consent to contact or penetrate the mouth, anus, or sexual organ of another person, including the actor, etc., etc., etc. Do you notice some difference between them? There is a real and distinct difference between them. And that's why public urination is just an ordinance. And then section 21 and 22 are titled different things. 21 is sexual offenses, and 22 is assaultive offenses. Rape is very assaultive. You're not just making people see your little peepee. You are penetrating somebody. You are committing an act of violence against them. And it's a real difference. It is a real difference. And if you do pee on a dumpster in a city in Texas, you're very likely to get a ticket. Unless, for whatever reason, they think that you're doing it for sexual gratification. And then you're going to get indecent exposure. And even if you are likely to get a moderate risk, remember, that means that they may continue to engage in criminal sexual conduct. That criminal sexual conduct would be to expose their little winkies peeing on dumpsters at 2 a.m., which is just a tad sight different, just a skosh different than penetrating someone through force. And that is why Brian King is an apologist for a rapist. He is trying to make the act of raping a woman with the use of a firearm, even if that didn't make it into the jury's verdict, but it is still the rape of a woman, the penetration of a woman against her will. He is trying to make that out to be no different, no worse than peeing behind a dumpster at 2 a.m. when no one is around. Think about that for a minute. Just think about that. Thanks for watching. Have a great evening.